Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here with another Red Dead Redemption 2 video, and in this video I'll be showing you all of the collectible locations for the Dreamcatchers, which there are 20 of. You will need all of these in order to get 100% completion in the game, and there's also a small secret reward for you at the end of this collectible chain. So for these, you can get these as soon as you start Chapter 2. They're all in the open world, and you just go up to them and pick them up. You can grab all of them in pretty much an hour or two if you follow along with this video. Similar to my other collectibles videos for this game, I will be following generally the same pattern, starting off where the first camp is, and then working my way around the map counterclockwise. So starting here to the west of Flatneck Station, you'll notice there is a small path. Just off to the right of that path, near the edge of the cliff, there is a collectible Dreamcatcher. So in order to get these, you just walk up to them and interact with them using the Y button. You can also stay on your horse if you so prefer to speed it up a little bit. From the previous collectible, we will just ride up the path a little bit north towards Valentine and go southwest of Caliban's Seat, just off to the right of where these three paths meet. You should be able to find your second of 20 Dreamcatchers. Then we'll continue heading a little bit north, and just under the E in the word Valentine on the map off to the side of the path, you can find another Dreamcatcher here. We now begin our journey a little bit eastward, just north of the sea in Citadel Rock. You should see a path right next to the train track here, and kind of in between the path and the train track, you should notice a couple of trees that are on a small hill, and one of these trees will have some Dreamcatchers on it. Next, we will head back down a little bit south, and in between the N and the E in the word New Hanover, there is a path that crosses the train track. And if you're headed from the north and going southward, before the trail and the track cross, you should notice some trees off to the side, and one of them, which is kind of hidden in the back, but it's one of the bigger trees, will have some Dreamcatchers on it. Continuing our journey eastward, we are now just over the word the Heartlands, and inside of the N in Heartlands, there is a singular tree that sits out in the middle of the field, and obviously that's going to be the one tree with the Dreamcatchers in the area. For our 7th of 20 collectibles, we are now above the word Lemoyne on the map, in between the M and the O. Just north of it, you will find a place called Lonnie Shack once you visit it. And just off the path here, you should notice a large collection of trees, but one of them will have the Dreamcatcher on it. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but if you do find yourself in a crowded area and are for some reason having trouble, I would recommend that you use your focus, and that should make them glow yellow, although the glow is a little bit faint on them, so it's not always that useful. Now, just from the last collectible, you will head a little bit to your east. You'll notice that these two paths converge into kind of a Y shape, and there's also a train track that intersects it to make a small triangle. Just off the path, you should notice a Dreamcatcher here, on the tree right next to the path. For the next one, we will head just a little bit north of where we kind of were. The last three collectibles make a little bit of a triangle. We're above the O in Lemoyne next to Aberdeen Pig Farms. And just off the path to the left, if you're kind of headed north, you will find a tree. The one we're looking for, obviously, is the one with the Dreamcatchers. Continuing north and going towards Emerald Ranch, there is a small body of water called the Heartland Overflow. There's kind of a left part and a right part, and it gets separated. And in that part where it gets separated, there are two big trees, and one of them, the one to the left, will have the Dreamcatcher. Next up, just over the 50% mark at 11, we are in the word New Hanover, and inside of the letter O, you will be able to find our next Dreamcatcher. This is just north of Emerald Ranch, and it is hidden amongst a bunch of trees, so it can be a little bit hard to spot, but the tree that has the Dreamcatchers is one of the more unique ones in the area. I believe it's significantly bigger, taller, and thicker than the other trees.
Easy now.
Next, we head eastward, and we are just next to the letter E in New Hanover, just south of the Elysian Pool. You'll want to remember where the Elysian Pool is for later, by the way. And if we go on the path between the E and the R, we head north. When the path kind of turns, we can head out into the field to the left. Spot the Dreamcatcher there on one of the trees. Crossing over the water in the Elysian Pool and going south of the word Ansburg, there is one singular path that goes towards it, and using this path, about halfway through the path, you'll notice the shape of the topography there, which is a pretty good indicator of where you are. Halfway through the path, there's like a rock when you're at the top of the hill, and to your right-hand side, going north, there's a tree with a Dreamcatcher. Next, we are just under the letter U in Ansburg. There's a path that runs east to west or west to east, and just under there, you should be able to spot a tree. This one's kind of up on a hill. You will need to probably get off your horse and go on foot. From the previous location, we can find one basically at the top of the second N in the word Ansburg. There's a small place where three paths kind of meet, and if you go from south to north, you should notice a very large tree on the right-hand side of the path, and the Dreamcatchers almost hang over the path. This one's pretty hard to miss if you're actually paying attention for it. We are now north of Ansburg, just north of the letter S, if you want to use that as a reference. There's a couple paths that run east to west, and near Deer Cottage, you should be able to find a Dreamcatcher just off the path near the river here. Now, the last four are pretty spread out. We've made a decent chunk of progress towards the northwest. We are in an area called the Lofts. You can just mark this area if you don't already have it unlocked on your map and auto-ride your horse here, and all of this will kind of reveal itself. But there's a path with some rocks on the right. There's a lot of little tight turns, and just off to the left, there's a couple of trees. There's one kind of dead, hollowed-out tree, and on that one, you should be able to find the Dreamcatchers you're looking for. From the previous location, you want to try to follow the train track. You'll end up under the letter R in that giant word that runs across there. You'll cross the river, you'll go by Brackus Station, and just near where this wolf is, you should be able to spot a tree just off to the side here. Now, if you're approaching from the previous collectible, that bridge in front of you, you'll actually go across it and head towards where we're pointing now. So I'm kind of facing the opposite way you might come, but it's because if you cross that bridge, there's no way to get up on this ledge unless you approach from the other side. We are nearing the end now. We are at 19 out of 20, and this is north of the small sign that says Dakota River, just southwest of Window Rock, just off the one main path that runs alongside the train track. You should notice a somewhat obvious tree here, although it is a little bit off the path. Last but not least, our 20th and final Dreamcatcher can be found under the letter S in the word Grizzlies West. That's part of the word West, not Grizzlies. And if you mark this location here kind of halfway between the letter and the path that is to the south, you should be able to spot this one. You might want to ride your horse up the steep inclination here, as doing it with your character can be pretty difficult. But when you're on top of this hill, just off near a cliff here, you should notice your 20th and final Dreamcatcher, but you are not yet done the mission itself. So as soon as you get your 20th and final Dreamcatcher, your character will make a recording in the book, and you'll notice that the Dreamcatchers actually make a picture of an animal. In this case, it's a bison. And if you zoom in on the bison, you'll notice that roughly where its eye is, there is an X that marks the spot, and we haven't been there. And that is by the Elysian Pool, which I told you guys to try to keep a small memory of earlier, but I'll show you here on the map exactly where it is. It's kind of between the E and the R in New Hanover and just south of Ansburg. There is a legendary fish here as well. And there is a river that falls into this pool via a waterfall. And what you want to do, we're bringing it back to 2001 in every single game that ever came out. We are walking through the waterfall into the secret area behind the waterfall to reveal a small cave system inside. Now, there's a couple of animals in here that you can actually pick up, including the little brown bat, and I think there's some rats that might only spawn in this cave. So you might want to grab the animals while you're here. You might want to also equip your lantern in order to see a little bit better. But if you follow the path, you will end up in a kind of large room. You can't really make a mistake once you're in here. The path is very simple and only really goes one way. So go inside, you'll end up in a large room. Once inside that room, there are a couple of things you can do in this room, like shoot the bats down, and there's a small little cave system in the back, but I haven't really found any use for it. But if you go forward, up, and to the right, you should be able to climb some rocks and see a painting of a bison on the wall. And assuming you have all 20 of your Dreamcatchers, you should be able to inspect this painting. And once you do that, you should be able to now look inside the eye of the bison to find a secret item. And this secret item is the Ancient Arrowhead. Now, honestly, the Ancient Arrowhead probably isn't all that useful. All it does is allow you to have double the stamina when drawing a bow, which can be useful for hunting in certain instances, but overall, in general gameplay, probably isn't all that great. Hopefully, you're one step closer to your 100% in Red Dead Redemption 2. Drop a like if the video is helpful, share with a friend, and a special thanks to the amazing people on Patreon for supporting the show. I'll see you next time. Peace.